That was rubbish, weren't it? What a rubbish transfer window that was for West Ham. Yesterday was rubbish as well. Yesterday, deadline day. It was like being a Jehovah's Witness on Christmas Day. You're sitting there enviously looking at other people getting involved, looking at other people have fun, thinking, why can't I get involved? Why can't I have nice things as well, but you're not allowed any? Anyway, welcome to a bit of a review of the January transfer window. Hope you're all having a really good day. Unless you're involved in not signing any players for West Ham United, I hope you're having a rubbish day. But let's take a little look at it. Today I'm going to go and repeat myself from what I've said sometimes over this month as well. So I apologise for that, but it's going to be a little review. Let's get straight into it. When the window first opened, I was hoping for 3 players. The Geo wish list. I was hoping for a striker, a centre-back, a left-back. As the window sort of rumbled on, I conceded that the left-back was just a no-go. We got told, if you like, that a centre-back and striker were priorities. Reluctantly accepted it. By the end of yesterday, or should I say yesterday morning, when the deadline day opened up and kicked off, I'm just on my knees for one signing in the end. I thought, please, can we just have one player that just helps us to achieve? And I guess, to be fair, I guess that's the question, isn't it? What are we hoping to achieve? I think if you were to rewind to August and ask David Moyes and the board at West Ham what is the aims for this season, I wouldn't be surprised if they said top 10 in the Premier League and to compete in European football. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't disagree too much with it. I think in August, when the season was starting to get underway, I was thinking if we could get 8th again and take European football seriously, if we could have a real go at the Europa League, I'd have been happy, I'd have been content with that. And I probably still will be come May. However, and this is where my anger came from yesterday. I've calmed down a bit now. I'm no longer angry. I'm still frustrated and annoyed. And it's not because I'm surprised. I know someone will say, well, surely you were expecting this. It's West Ham. It's David Sullivan. I'm not surprised. But I think part of the frustration and the annoyance comes from not being surprised. I think I was hoping to be surprised from West Ham, to take advantage of the position we're in at the minute, where we currently sit 5th. And when we entered the January transfer window, we sat 4th. And it's a bit different to last year. We're in similar positions. Last year, when we were in January and Jesse Lingard joined us, we were currently 5th in the Premier League. And we all know how that season went. And I think sometimes you can be guilty of looking at what you achieved last season rather than what you missed out on. I am guilty of it as well. You look at last season, you think we finished 6th, we played some really good football, we had some really good individual performances from players throughout the season as well. It was an enjoyable time as we had qualified for the Europa League group stage. It was a fantastic time. But what I guess you don't do is look back and think, well, we missed out on 4th by 2 points. Was it actually a failure to some extent? And I think you could look at the January transfer window last season and argue that if we had got a striker in as well as Jesse Lingard, if we had got a replacement for Sebastian Haller, we might have gone on to finish 4th, because there was that period in the season where we were missing Antonio as well as Declan, and results didn't necessarily go our way. We did miss them, we did drop points. So had we got back up for Antonio last January, could we have finished 4th? Perhaps, perhaps not. It's all hypothetical. Some people will say we could have, some people would say we wouldn't have done it and it didn't even matter. The reason I'm bringing that up is not to dismiss last season's success, if you like, but it's different this year round. We've got more evidence this year to present to players. We also do have the lure of European football. We didn't have it 12 months ago. We were asking people to almost gamble on West Ham, say come join West Ham, we might get European football. Well, actually this year's difference, we've got European football and we're trying to get it again. And I just felt that the club was in a very rare situation for West Ham United in terms of being attractive to players, because some players are attracted by European football. There is examples of it over the years that players that we've gone after, it depends if you believe the rumours I guess, but like so Wesley Fofana for example preferred Leicester over West Ham because they had European football, we didn't. Fine, I accept that. If anything, I quite admire it. I quite like players that will pick that kind of football principles over wages and what their cheque says at the end of the month. I prefer that. But we're now in that position. We're now in that position that gives us an edge over Aston Villa and over Everton, over Wolverhampton Wanderers, because we've got the European football. And I just don't think that we've used that to our advantage in January. And it's frustrating. It's really frustrating me, because we're in a position, not only with that lure, that we could go on and qualify for European football again for next season. And I think that is the next level for me to some extent. Part of the lure, the advertisement for the London Stadium, when you were dragged there kicking and screaming, or whether you walked there happily with a skip in your step, doesn't really matter. I don't mind if you were for or against London Stadium. That's not my point. My point was part of the advertisement for it, part of the justification for the move to London Stadium set out by the board of West Ham United was the promise of next level. Now, next level is subjective, isn't it? We all have different opinions as to what that is. For myself, it was always about competing for European football or competing in European football. And when I say European football, it doesn't necessarily have to be the Champions League. I think last season we took one step towards it, if you like, and if you do look at it as physical steps, rungs on a ladder, if you like, I think we put one foot on there by qualifying for European football. In order to get the next one on there, it's about adding consistency. So it's not a flash in the pan. So it's not a one-off season. To add consistency to that and to forever be a side that's competing for or in European football. And I think this season we had an opportunity to do that, to make huge strides, to give ourselves the best chance, and to do that I felt and I still feel we had to invest in January. We didn't. I consider this window a failure. I really do. And I guess it comes down to a case of who do you blame as well. Before I get into that, I just want to quickly point in the direction of our Patreon service. There's no mid-roll advert in this video. This is the mid-roll advert. This is the mid-roll advert. In the description there's a link, but also in the comments. If you scroll down to the comment section of this video, there's a pinned comment at the very top by Hammers Chat. It's got a link in it. If you click it, it takes you through to the Patreon page at patreon.com/Hammers Chat. Now, there's only two reasons you'd consider subscribing to this. First of all, because you want more content, more Hammers Chat videos. We've got the player rating series, we've got the Mug of Tea series, myself and Gonzo, where we sit down with a cup of tea and we talk all things West Ham. We've also got the breakfast show we do before every game, and many other videos as well. So you can go check out the series over there. We've also got some perks as well, non-video stuff. We do regular giveaways, online discount for this kind of thing, which is a forever thing. It's not a one-off discount code. While your subscription is active, you can use the discount code as many times as possible. We've got 4 different tiers over there, so do go check them out. But the second reason is just to support the channel. You might not be interested in more videos. You might be content with the video you get on this channel every day and the video you get on the forum channel every day, but you wish to support the channel in your own little way. You can do that by heading over to Patreon. Now, what does it cost? Because there is a cost involved. Like I said, there's 4 tiers, so do check them out. The lowest one, the supporters tier, is £3.50 per month. That's your all-in price. There's no VAT added on top of that. It's £3.50 is what you pay. If you sign up for the year, if you commit to it, 1 whole year of Hammers Chat Patreon, you get a 10% discount as well. The link is in the description, pinned comments, and a massive thank you to everybody that just goes and has a little look and decides that it's for them and takes the plunge to support the channel. Much appreciated. Now, back to the topic, back to the transfer window, back to the blame game, because I think this is what's splitting the fan base. I think some people are blaming different people. I blame David Moyes and I blame David Sullivan equally as a duo, the pair of them as a pair. And I think that's important for me, to blame them both equally to some extent. Now, I'm leaving out Rob Newman. Many people will obviously blame Rob Newman. I understand why, but I'm going to give him time, because when he come into the club, there was nothing. The scouting department was a shell. When Usulos and Pellegrini got sacked, Usulos went and took everything with him. The data went out the window. The scouts left because they were the offspring of Usulos and Pellegrini. There was nothing there in the recruitment side of things. Newman's got to come in and build it from the ground up. Now, he started doing that. He's recruited David Moyes' son. He's recruited George Santos. He's recruited Grant Holt. There's probably other people that he's recruited that we just don't know about, because why would we, unless it's put in front of our faces? So Rob Newman's got a big job on his hand, and what he has to do, he's got to get everything in place. The infrastructure of that scouting needs filled out. The networks need put in place. He's got to be here for the long term, and I'm going to wait and I'm going to give Rob Newman time. Short term, it would have been nice to see him get involved in January and bring us players, but I just think it's too little time. I don't think 3 months is an adequate amount of time. Yes, he's got the knowledge, of course he does, I'm aware of that, but what he's got to do at West Ham, he's got to set stuff up so going forward, next season, the season after that, we benefit from what he did in the first 3 months at the football club. There's no use in coming in and focusing solely on the January transfer window, because it's always just a short-term thing. We need long-term planning. I like to hope that Rob Newman is the long-term solution for the scouting department. We will wait and see. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for the January transfer window, mainly because what we've seen in January, we've seen it in the summer, We've seen it in last January. We've seen it plenty times at West Ham. Rob Newman was not here for any of them. Nothing changed. So I'm going to excuse him. And I'm going to bring in David Moyes and David Sullivan. And like I said, I blame both for certain reasons. First of all, history. Both of them. David Moyes is called Dithering Dave at Everton. We know why. It takes a while to decide his targets. They called him Dithering Dave. He's done the same here. Let's be honest with you. He does take a little while to pick his targets. Now, that's not a bad thing. Pissing money up the wall ain't a bad thing. Or should I say, not pissing money up the wall is a bad thing. He takes his time. He doesn't waste money. That's okay. That is admirable. But he also doesn't spend money. You can't waste money if you don't spend any money, can you? And I think that's where my frustration comes in. So for Moyes, I think the danger with him is he takes a little while to decide and confirm which players he wishes to go after. Then you bring in David Sullivan. You're all West Ham fans. I don't need to explain why David Sullivan's got history at this club. We've seen it with Pellegrini, we've seen it with Bilic, we've seen it with Sam Allardyce. Allardyce wanted Wilfred Boney and got given Enner Valencia. Slaven Bilic sat there in a conference and told us that William Cavallo will be joining West Ham. And then we all saw that email that got leaked by David Sullivan, thinking it was a good thing to do. He's poor at negotiations. He's not good at negotiating. So when you combine the two, when you've got a man that takes ages to decide his targets, and then that gets passed on to a man who's rubbish at securing the targets, it's not a good combination at all. And I think this is where the Darwin Núñez thing comes in. I believe this bid. All window, I dismiss 99% of things. I'll be honest with you. This is who I think we bid for. No inside knowledge. This is my thoughts. This is my feelings. I feel the only bids were real was a loan move for Jesse Lingard, a loan move for Coletta Carr, and I feel that we put in a bid for Darwin Núñez. That's it. I don't believe any other. The Rafinha bid, Calvin Phillips bid, rubbish. Phantom bids, made up. For whatever reason, is it a smoke screen while we try and work on the Benfica player? Is it to try and appease the fan base? It doesn't really matter. I think we've seen examples of both in the past at West Ham. I don't believe the bids whatsoever. I believe those three. The Jesse one was just stupid for the exact same reasons. Gonzo done a video just a couple of hours ago. I'm recording this just before lunch, by the way, for context. Gonzo did a video about, well, actually a couple of hours ago, it was about 20 minutes ago. I've literally just watched it and I'm recording this. And he speaks about the Lingard thing. It's just baffling. Why are we even entertained going after him? I know in the know at West Ham that Jesse Lingard's literally the only player I can sort of get information on. And when I spoke to people close to Jesse, they basically said to me, he's not going anywhere. He will not be going to West Ham. They said there's a small chance he'll get to go to Newcastle or Burnley or someone down the bottom of the table. West Ham have got no chance. Absolutely no. None. Nada. No chance of getting Jesse Lingard. And then when sort of the transfer deadline day thing came out and he'd been given permission by Ralph to leave, if you like, I sort of checked in. I said, there's a lot of rumours that West Ham are back in. And they basically laughed at me on the phone. Said, it doesn't matter. Why are you back in? What's the point? You're not going to get him. It's pointless. Basically laughed at the fact that West Ham had submitted another bid. That's what they were doing. And then that's not meant to mean they were looking down on the bid. What they were doing was, they were just laughing. Why have West Ham not understood what Man United are saying here? There's no point chasing him. Anyway, that's the Jesse Lingard thing. The Darwin Núñez thing, like I said, I do believe it. But then that begs the question. So has Moyes waited 30 days to decide he wants Darwin Núñez? Or has David Sullivan waited 30 days to bid for Darwin Núñez? Either one of them is true. If the bid's true, either one of those scenarios are true. Neither are good. Ridiculous way to conduct your business. Now, I guess what I will say though, my problem coming into this window, my concern coming into this window was, what's David Sullivan's motivation? And I think this window has almost confirmed to me, not my worry. My worry was, what's David Sullivan's motivation? He's already agreed a share price with Daniel Katinsky to purchase the rest of West Ham United if he wishes to. We know that March next year, so 13 months time, we know that the agreement with the LLDC is up, so that David Sullivan and David Gold don't need to give any of the profits for the sale of West Ham United to the government. Sorry, 14 months. So 14 months time, Katinsky could essentially purchase the rest of West Ham, and none of that money goes to the LLDC, it goes to the government. Happy days as far as Sullivan's concerned. So my concern was, well, what's Sullivan's motivation here? Why would he spend money trying to get us fourth in the Premier League? Because arguably he'd miss out. He'd have a Champions League club getting sold for a price. I don't know what that price is, but I doubt it would have been a Champions League club price. So Sullivan would miss out. This window would almost, to me, suggest that Sullivan's not really arse, to be honest with you. Sullivan's just sat there thinking, well, this club's going to be sold. I'm not going to own this club, so why would I benefit from it? It just feels like he's ready to leave. He's just treading water, biding time until that deadline's up and that Kretinsky can purchase the rest of the club from him at an agreed price already without them having to pay a penalty to the government. That's how I feel anyway. But what I will say, to end this video on a slightly positive note, what I will say, we can still have a good season. We can still have a good season. I think the window would have given us a better chance of achieving above our means, if you like. I think we don't have the 5th best starting 11 in the Premier League. We certainly don't have the 5th best bench in the Premier League. We've been punching above our weight. David Moyes has had us punching well above our weight over the last 2 years, and he's done a brilliant job at that. He's done a really, really good job there. But I think we needed to invest in January to help David Moyes to keep us up there, maybe to narrow that gap between us and teams with slightly better players than us, so that we could have a chance of finishing 5th or maybe even 4th, making a run for it. But what we do have is the 7th or 8th best team in the Premier League. I've got no doubt about that. Okay, we have maybe the 7th. Let's just take the 7th. I've not thought about it too much. So let's say we've got the 7th best team in the Premier League. So even without any investment, we could still qualify for European football next year. And I just hope that we do take the Europa League serious, because the one thing I don't want to see, and this will grate me if I hear this in future, the one thing I don't want to hear is excuses that we heard after the Leeds United defeat and the Man United defeat. When we got beat by Leeds, Moyes practically stood there and said, well, Antonio was knackered, needed to come off, but I couldn't take him off because I've got nobody to take on. What am I meant to do? Well, you can't use that excuse anymore. After Man United, I've been looking for 2 years for a striker, I've not found anyone. Oh, well, it's not good enough. It's incompetence. If you've been looking for 2 years for a striker and not found anyone, that is incompetent as far as I'm concerned. And my frustration with the window, I accept, I don't agree with. I think a lot of people have misunderstood me. I've done a tweet and then I mentioned it in last night's video, and some people said, well, I don't agree with you that we shouldn't have upgraded. And that's not what I'm saying. I accept why Moyes hasn't found an upgrade on Antonio. I don't agree with it. I don't agree they're not out there. But I do accept that the January transfer window would be difficult to bring in somebody that Moyes is confident that's going to go straight into the team, put Antonio on the bench. Fine, accept it. Don't agree with it, but I accept it. What I don't accept, though, is that we couldn't find upgrades for our bench. Because as it stands, we played Watford a week today, I think. Masuaku is going to be on the bench. Yarmolenko is going to be on the bench. I don't believe you can't find upgrades for them. Now, Moyes doesn't want to spend money to upgrade the bench. Okay, but that's on him. You're then going to have to take the flack that goes with that a little bit. If you are going to stick around until you find players good enough to go straight into the starting 11, it's admirable, it is, but that only works if your bench is adequate. The bench is not adequate as it stands. Yarmolenko, Masuaku, some youngsters, now those youngsters might come good, I hope to see them, and some people might use the reasoning for not purchasing is, well, maybe Moyes has faith in Okoflex. Well, evidence this season would suggest he doesn't. He's not used him. There's been some opportunities, not many. There's been some where he could have used Okoflex. We've seen continuously poor performances from Dawson and or Diop when Zuma was out injured. He could have played Baptiste or Elise, but he didn't. Now I get why you don't want to chuck a youngster in. I get it. But then why is that going to change in the second half of the season? It's not. The reasons will still be the same. There's too much at stake. So we can't play Elise in centre-back. Too much at stake. Can't play Okoflex. We've got to go with the experienced players. That reasons that might have been used in the first half to justify not giving the youngsters a game will still be used in the second half of the season. And this is my frustration with the January transfer window. The worst players out there we could have got in to upgrade on what we've got on the bench at least, to help Mikel Antonio. Let Antonio have a rest when he needs one so that he can go again the following week and he's in prime condition. Like I said, I used a curtain analogy. I'll have to go out and have a few more drinks more to bring in household examples, but I basically said if I was to move into a house, I don't put no curtains up. If I can't find the right curtains, I don't put none up so people can see in. I'll go out there and I get other curtains that I like that will do me in the meantime until I can find the right curtains. And that's what we needed in January. We needed cover at least for Mikel Antonio. We probably need to cover the centre back, and I would still argue to this day that we needed an alternative left back because I don't want to see Arthur Masuaku again. Frustrating January transfer window as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, that's it. That's it for me. I just want to say a massive thank you to anybody that tuned into our deadline show last night. We had 1,500 people watching us throughout the show. At all times, we had at least 1,500 people watching, which is ridiculous. I remember the first time we did the transfer deadline day show years ago. We did it for about 5 hours and we spoke about Arsenal. We spoke about every team in the Premier League just to fill in the 5 hours. And I think we had like 50 people watching us live. And that was a big deal to us. But to have 1,500 people, there's moments when we do stuff with Hammers Chat. There's some moments where I sit there and I think, wow, like, bloody hell, wow. And I feel proud of myself, of Gonzo, of Charlie, of us collectively as a team. I feel a little bit of pride. Last night we did the transfer deadline day show. That was a really good show. To have 1,500 people watching us regularly, 1,500 people, there's plenty of other West Ham fan channels out there, good ones as well out there they could have watched. There's mainstream media, generic football channels out there as well they could have tuned into. But 1,500 people tuned into Hammers Chat, which is just ridiculous. So I had a bit of a pride moment, if you like, last night. So I just want to say a massive thank you, because you lot that tuned in made me feel like that, and I quite liked it. Anyway, now I'm disappearing. Apologies. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Hopefully tomorrow's video is a bit more positive, eh? Catch you in a bit.